All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move Podcast, the final Move Podcast of the 2019 Tour de France, brought to you by PATRON Tequila. I'm Lance Armstrong, sitting here with JB Hager.
I was about to sneeze, sorry.
And why, is there something, are you allergic to something in your sport coat? The man...
Hey, it's the last day.
He was at the house, he said, I'm going to wear a sport coat. And then he's running around, he's like, hey, you got any hair gel?
I know.
We just had a big race. We'll find out. You members will find out what happens here in a few days. And I'm like, bro, really? Just throw on a hat. Let's go.
It was in honor of the last day of the tour and my appreciation for being on the show this whole month of July. I've had a great time. And
we're honored that you came.
Jacket.
You had your family here.
Yep, it was a good time.
One little teaser. The guy is such a despicable dude that he had his son out on the race. This has nothing to do with the results. His son trying to block the route.
He was not trying to block the route.
100%. Speaking of sons.
How about he was on the bike riding?
Speaking of sons, we have a fourth special guest today. Luke Armstrong will read the RoadID trivia contest. Now, I'm just saying, he's sitting right here in front of us. Like, what if I had Luke out trying to block the trail? How we doing?
That would have been more effective.
I think we need to see video of that.
And the fun thing is, and when we get to the trivia contest, we have some old pictures of Luke and I on the podium, and there's quite a difference in size. Some things. The first picture, I don't even think that the whole body could fit in his head, like inside his skull. And I could not lift you. That's exactly right. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit of business. Today's show brought to you by PowerDot, the most mobile, effective, efficient e-stim unit in the world. Actually, Luke, I have one on the way for Luke since he's right in the throes of football practice over at Rice University. But look at this thing. I mean, it's like this. It's not even the size of like one of those CD cases. It's even smaller. Download the app on your phone. Connect it to the Bluetooth, and bam, you're on your way. Throw in your backpack when you travel. We full disclosure and disclaimer, we are investors in this company. We like it that much. We believe in the product and the technology that much. Last day you get to do it. 20% off for our listeners. Go to powerdot.com/themove, and the buy code is THEMOVE. Today's show also brought to you by, and I wore these today on the race.
I stopped and picked them up for you at one point.
I love.
Yes, I did.
No, I love the hinge. Like, check this. I love that hinge. Like, because I sweat my ass off when I'm going as hard as I was going today. And so I had it hinged on my like a bike computer, my mount, and they fell off. And he stopped. Hey, your glasses are down.
I can tell you this: they won't fall off your face. They, as light as they are, they don't slip
they're
at
super
all.
Light. They got this patented ear grip sock here, the Gecko technology. Rob and his crew have just knocked it out of the park. I mean, not only are they just killing it as a business, but they made us our own shade. The Move color wave, the forward arrow etched in the middle. Started by four athletes in a garage in Austin, Texas. Also doing a bunch of really cool content. Go check out their Instagram. Like a good friend of mine, who's one of the gnarliest dudes I've ever been around, Tim Kennedy, who's a special forces guy and MMA fighter and TV personality. He's doing some work with them, and so they've got a killer gym at Roka, and so he goes over there and works out a lot. A lot of that's on their Instagram, and that's ROKA Roka. So last day you get to do it. Roka.com/themove, 20% off for our listeners on your first purchase. All right, so we're talking about stage 21 in the 2019 Tour de France, the final stage. I have a couple of things. First of all, is anybody located the fucking cannon that Caleb Ewan got shot out of?
Yeah, that was.
By the way, that was my
impressive.
pick. So that was only the second time I've been right this Tour de France.
My pick wasn't even in the screen. I didn't see him at all.
Who'd you have?
I had Christoph. Or perhaps he's not even there anymore.
That's a problem.
I did notice Dimension Data was trying to take control of the race. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, how many teams did not win a stage, which is, I think.
I want to get into that. That's
okay.
a bigger, because I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Yeah.
Okay. and some people aren't going to like my thoughts.
Yeah, let's back up a second, because they did end at night, just as the sun was setting.
And I have a lot of thoughts about that. I want to get to that.
Do you know why they did it?
No, I have no idea. But can I talk about Caleb Ewan and this cannon right quick? I mean, he's a little pocket rocket. I was actually watching earlier in the stage the Australian feed, and Robbie McEwen said a very interesting thing. He said, and I've talked about this, George doesn't believe me. I mean, his style on the bike is not that efficient. He's all over the bike, even to the point where there are times where his back wheel is coming off the ground. This is all, we've seen that. And McEwen's point was like, it's going to be very difficult for him to win on the Champs because it's cobbled. So if that your back wheel is already bouncing off the ground a little bit, and so the combo of the two, he was going to lose too much power, which didn't happen. But I did think it was a good point.
And he went right, which all the sprinters always say the right part of that road is bumpier than the left side.
Oh, you saw.
So he chose to go right, and he still just went flying past everybody. Groenewegen went about the same time he did. And our buddy had a good point. Did Groenewegen think he was going to win and perhaps let up a little bit?
That's what I thought. What were your thoughts on that?
It's hard to tell, but I mean, Caleb was coming quicker anyway. It looks like he was going to win, but it might have looked like Groenewegen thought he had it in the bag, and all of a sudden caught Caleb on the far right side and flying past him.
But he was going twice as fast.
Yeah.
And at that speed, to go that much faster, man.
Well, and
stage win.
People don't realize too that lead out. I mean, it is. You do 2 hours at 30K an hour, and then all of a sudden you hit the Champs and you're going 60K an hour, and that lead out through the tunnel with 3 kilometers to go. I mean, it is so fast and intense.
Yeah.
And for Caleb to come with that speed after such a hard lead out, after 3 weeks of racing his ass off, I am super impressed with his sprint there.
First tour, 3 stage wins. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. JB, you brought up this point about finishing at night. We were surprised. I mean, it worked out good for us because we had our 50-miler this morning. I'm assuming they just did that for effect.
No. One of our astute listeners explained it.
Oh.
So it's not the 100th anniversary of the tour, but it's the 100th anniversary of the Maillot Jaune, the yellow jersey,
yes,
which we did talk about earlier in this tour. So 6 years ago or whatever, when it was the 100th anniversary of the tour, they also did it at night, and they lit up with these images on the Champs-Élysées, on the Arc de Triomphe.
Okay.
These big images that said 100th anniversary of the Maillot Jaune. That's the reason they did it, to celebrate
that's not a good enough reason.
Yeah.
That is not a good enough reason.
Why does it matter?
Well, here's why it matters.
Okay.
It matters because every year at the Tour de France, the final day finishes the same time it finishes every day, 5 or 6 o'clock. What then happens is there is a procession or a ceremony for all the teams. So the teams line up for all the riders that they have left remaining, and the directors are there, the sponsors are there, and they do one short lap of the Champs-Élysées, and all the fans that have lined the Champs-Élysées have an opportunity to get up close to them as they go close with no helmets. Guys stop, take pictures, sign autographs,
carrying their flags,
carrying their country's flags. I mean, that happens every year, and then they do the podium stuff. But most importantly, then it ends with a celebration, right? They have a big team. Now it's not an early dinner, but they say it's a 9 o'clock celebration, or
is the dinner just usually just the team, or is that usually the family that's all showed up?
You have all the families.
Yeah.
You have that's very important, but you also have all the sponsors. So these people that are spending 20, 30 million bucks to sponsor a team.
They're there for the party.
Matt White sent George a text. He got to the hotel at 11 o'clock. If I'm the sponsor, and by the way, Monday, boom, outskis.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
So if I'm spending all this money on a team, and I want to have a victory celebration or a big party or a big dinner,
you want to be with the riders.
Yeah, you don't want to do it at midnight. They don't want to do it at midnight.
No.
So let's hope that's not something they think.
Man, did we have some parties back in the day,
dude?
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Yes, we did. Make party. We make party.
So, and logistically too, it's just a lot harder. Like Lance said, everybody's out Monday morning. I mean, mechanics got to get all the bikes washed up, got to get them packed up. People are just dispersing everywhere. Like they're just.
What about the 8 guys that got called for doping control?
Yeah, and
they're still sitting there.
All the media people are still sitting there. It's just the late finish makes it a lot more complicated. It was good for us, though. We got to get our race in and then watch the last hour of the race.
Yep. And we're not going to tell you who won, but I think y'all know who looks fresher and who looks better. I mean, I think
Zoom
the
in.
man. I think
Boats
the man,
can zoom in.
I think the man was so beat up that that's why he wore the sport coat. He's just so hammered.
I did almost just have a cramp. I got to admit, a little hammy cramp.
We'll give you some details on how you can see the results of that first.
And a big
before we go.
and you gotta I don't I was gonna make Caleb Ewan my patron of the day, but I'm not. I haven't said it yet, so I'm not gonna say it. It has to be Peter Sagan. Breaking the record for the green jerseys, breaking Eric Zabel's, one of the best of all time's record. 7 green jerseys. He's my patron of the day.
Good, I can go with Caleb then.
You can go with Caleb. He deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a strange day because on the last day, you guys did your race earlier. It's all later. Johan and I went first, which he loved. He really relished in that, and especially the fact that you guys had to wait. But he gave a patron of the tour.
Okay. Who did he say?
Alaphilippe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
He went
that was
further than
amazing.
Speaking
any
of
of
the
us
finish,
expected.
that camera angle, like that on the Shams, like that camera running down the side. Hello, ASO and Tour de France. Figure out a way to have that every day.
Every
I don't know
finish.
what you got to do. I know it's unique because it's a true boulevard and there's no grandstand on that side of the road. But man, is that cool!
It is super
That was cool. I think that's like what they use in horse racing. It's tracked along with the finish. That was awesome.
Yep.
Very impressive.
There's no other finish in cycling where you get to really see exactly what's happening 200 meters from the line and see what rider's on what wheels. I mean, it's just very impressive camera footage there.
Before we get into Bernal, and there's a lot to say there about Egan Bernal, let's talk about the teams. I mean, who won and who's going home going, what happened?
Look, George and I went through the results. It was, obviously had 2 rest days. You had one day that was there was no winner. Stage 19, they didn't declare a winner. Most people think that Egan Bernal won that day. He won in effect. He won a lot of things, but they didn't give him a stage win. You got Lotto wins 4 times, Jumbo Visma 4 times, Quick Step 3 times, Mitchelton Scott 4 times, Bahrain Meridia 2 times. But what I just don't get, so they all had a great tour, right? But then you have these other teams, and they're spending so much money. And if I'm the person giving them the money, people like Trek and Education First and CCC and Dimension Data and UAE and Katusha and Sunweb, I'm like, what happened here? I mean, they all these teams get, D's or F's.
Mm-hmm.
And so
there's always some reshuffling going on. I mean, CCC still has Greg Van Avermaet, which is Olympic champion, one of the best cyclists in the world. Just didn't have quite the courses that suited him this year. EF got top 10 in the Tour de France. You can't kind of put your nose up to that. It's not a bad result, but yeah, they want to come away with victories, and these guys are in UAE. I mean, we need these sheiks to put some more money in and get.
The sheik
shuffle these rosters around a bit, because who's going to beat Ineos in the next couple of years if these 3 guys in fact stay together?
They don't want to leave Ineos.
Yeah,
they don't want to leave. Look what happened to Richie Porte when he left. Look what happens to all these when they leave. They're not the same. That program is too well funded. Their science is too, whatever they're doing. And I'm not trying to allude to anything nefarious, but just the training, the methodical preparation, nobody else does that. And so I wouldn't leave.
That's the dream team.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave.
And they could potentially win all 3 Grand Tours.
Speaking of Ineos, and I want to get into Bernal because I have some thoughts and stuff, but just if I could just, he seems like a really classy kid, and I love kissing on the family and doing the cross and everything. But when the sponsor pays $40 million, and the sunglass sponsor gives you probably $10,000, and you're on the top step on the Champs-Élysées getting the yellow jersey, that's the money shot. Mm-hmm. The shades can go in the pocket, not over the entire sponsor. Just one little is all. Now, great for Oakley.
Yeah.
But I was just like, take them off, dude. Take them off.
That's probably the only critique we can have on
That's
this
the only.
kid.
That's
I mean,
that is
what an
literally
incredible
that is literally the only thing
race
that
he
yeah.
had.
And I'm not. But it's just a. But I promise you, somebody at Ineos was going. He's going to take those off his head, right?
Yeah, I found it. I mean, we've been talking about how Colombian cycling is going to even explode even more now. That Bernal is one. We're going to have all these kids getting on bikes more than ever. And today I found really interesting too that Nairo put out a tweet with a picture of him, Bernal, Sergio Arnau, Uran. They're all together at the front of the pack, kind of celebrating and thanking Bernal for making not only his dreams come true, but their dreams come true, to prove that a Colombian can win the Tour de France. And he thanked him and gave him a lot of love. And I just find that really interesting that the Colombians are all united and celebrating Bernal's victory.
Hey, your enemy's up until it's over, and then you're congratulating.
Well,
right?
and all ships rise with that sea.
Right.
I mean,
right,
if you're, it's we saw it here in America back in the day, and not just for the riders, but for the industry, for all the manufacturers and bike shops and local bike shops, and it just everybody wins.
So all you Americans listening out there, we need a big American sponsor to get the Americans back in the Tour. We need more than 3 Americans racing the Tour, although I think there was only 4 Americans or 4 Colombians at this Tour de France, and they still won and got top 10 in the overall.
Do you know anybody that has a
top
pro?
10.
Do you know anybody that has a pro bike team?
I do. I think I do know someone who has a pro bike team. Huh. I think the weight is on their shoulders.
I will say this, and let's just use this opportunity to talk about Egan Bernal. I mean, if you want to get in the game and be at this level, just FYI, the guy's 22 years old, and we might be looking at 10 years of this, which is a long time.
And the potential to break the Tour record.
Yep, which is 7. Fact.
Right.
Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah. And then think about that. If at 22 and he's going to be prime for a decade, I mean, just that effect on these Colombian up-and-coming kids over time.
Just the outcome of this race has set up such an exciting Tour to come next year, with perhaps Geraint Thomas coming back at 100%. I mean, the guy crashed right before the Tour, did not have the same build-up, still finished second place overall. Chris Froome is out, Demoulin's out, Roglic's out. I'm already looking forward to next year's Tour de France.
That's what we said this the other day. Somebody's gonna be doing the Giro Vuelta. You can't take those and throw in Carapaz.
Yeah,
who they say is like his pedal stroke looks like is like butter.
So
new T-shirt, butter.
Your first Tour win, you were how old?
That's a challenging. I was like 27 years old. 27 or 28.
Okay, say 28. There's a big difference between a 22-year-old and a 28-year-old.
Yeah. Well, we saw it. I mean, and this is where I want to ask George, because I think he has way more intel on this because of his Colombian connections than we do. But we saw Jan Ullrich win the Tour at a young age. We've seen other riders in cycling, Frank Vandenbroek, win big races at a young age. And man, you start throwing that kind of attention and that kind of money at them. Everything's free. You never wait for a table. It's just life. It's just too damn easy. Mm. And those two. And fortunately, Jan, knock on wood, is doing great. But Frank Vandenbroek didn't make it. Now it's just hard, and so I worry a little. I've heard George say that he's heard great things about him, but his world just got rocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
forever.
Even before he's won the Tour, I mean, clearly he was very successful winning a lot of other races, and they've always said one thing about him, that he is way more mature than his age. I mean, he's even around his teammates, he's always kind of guiding them and telling them to not take risks in training, things like that. Like, the guy is a really mature guy, comes from a really strong family. I don't see him kind of going that way where he's going to become a party animal and become distracted. I would think he's going to stay pretty focused, and he's going to want to win again.
Yeah, I hope that's right. I worry also just about going back to Colombia. It is going to be, and obviously he has to go back, but when the dust settles, so a month from now, 2 months from now, I mean, I don't know where he lives or where his parents live. They better be like, it is going to be an hourly occurrence where somebody's there. Can you una firma, por favor. una gorra.
Yeah,
I mean,
his
it's
wife-
just you got to get ready. I mean, it sucks. It is going to suck for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And that's not getting
it's
into
not
the
a
party
bad
scene.
thing.
And
I
all
mean,
these
here we
things.
got Colombia, who's gone through so much turmoil in their history, to now becoming one of the greatest sporting nations in the world. I mean, they've just won arguably one of the biggest sporting events in the world. So
Fact.
for the whole country, this is a historical day. And
I'm
I can
surprised
tell
the
you
president
from
wasn't
personal
there.
experience that they're going really crazy right now. My parents are in Colombia right now. There's parties on the streets. Everybody is super excited.
Oh,
That's what's going on right now. Oh, yes. I grew up with this kind of music.
you missed it, Tiff.
Oh, it's going to be a party.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a ticker tape parade and all of that.
Yeah. Let's do a little bit of business before we kind of wrap it all up. I think there's some things we want to, just some special shout outs, but and then we'll get to the Road ID trivia contest. Actually, let's get to it right now because it's sort of part of the business. Today's show, the final show of the 2019 Tour de France, is also brought to you by High Brew Coffee, our good friends David Smith and his crew in Austin, Texas, making a really cool product, and have a new product, the new 11-ounce can, triple shot, 3 times the caffeine, sugar-free. Ha! Love it. She might or might not have been used today. You'll see. Cold brew for those who do. 20% off for our listeners. Go to highbrewcoffee.com, and the buy code is 20THEMOVE. Cold brewed for those who do. Should we let's we'll get to the trivia contest.
Okay.
And our guest reader of the trivia contest is my oldest son and my first child, Luke Armstrong. And so we have some older images as he walks in. Just a little bigger now. Got another one, Higgs? What else we got? Oh, yeah, a little bigger than that, too. All right, so Luke he's going to be a sophomore at Rice University and playing football there. They switched him over from O-line to fullback. And he's lean and mean. Man, he showed up. I was like, damn. Body fat's down. All the power's up. I was like, whoa. So start right there with that part right there and talk into this bad boy.
Start at this one?
Yeah.
All right. It's time for today's daily dose of Road ID Tour Trivia. To play, head over to roadid.com/France. Today's question: roughly how many total miles did the cyclist travel during this year's Tour de France? Go to roadid.com/France to answer this question and score a chance to win today's daily prize: a pair of CD Shot cycling shoes. One lucky winner will even take home a $10,000 BMC shopping spree. Again, that's roadid.com/France.
And then the 4 choices.
The 4 choices are
Roughly how far did they travel?
2,847, 2,163, 3,104, or 3,308.
Got it. Good job. Anything else you want to add?
I guess I have to shout out Rice Football.
Rice football, baby.
Kind of have to, but yes.
What
shout
is
out
the
Rice Football.
chant? What is the chant?
Rice fight never dies.
Rice fight never dies.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Luke. I don't know the answer to that.
I didn't know that either.
I mean, I always just worked off the assumption. It always used to be roughly 2,500 miles, 4,000 kilometers. So it didn't go up. I'm just cheating.
But they used to do it in a lot fewer days.
Well, in the
Back in
beginning,
the
they
day.
did.
At the
they
very
did 5
beginning.
stages. Hello. 600 kilometer stages.
Oof.
And now, why did they cut corners in this sport? That's
Brutal.
Also, big shout out. I know this is we have our daily advertisers, our daily supporters that we read on those particular days. But I just want to take the opportunity to go through and name them individually. These are all people that, as we told you, you might have sounded like a joke. I mean, a lot of people approach us to run ads on this show, and it's your typical podcast advertisers. I won't name them, but they're not things that we would use or believe in. And so it's just a no, right? I couldn't bring myself to to talk about it. And I don't like reading our supporters' stuff. I like talking about it because it's stuff that I know and trust and believe in. So Patron Tequila, big believer. Shocker to you folks. PowerDot, Roca, High Brew Coffee, RoadID, Amp Human, The Feed, and Epic Rides. So look, this is a show that 2 years ago we had no support. Last year we had a little bit of support, and this year we have great support. And so that doesn't get lost on me. Like this is we're truly grateful that those awesome companies have decided to lean in and support us.
Yeah, and just so people know too, I mean, you've seen in 3 years we keep upping our game, and that helps with that. It helps get me here, helps get George and his family here for a month, and Dave.
After the race, he went down to the clothing store. Look what I got him.
And Dave and Higgs and our friends from Inkwell this year, really populating Instagram and among other things. That's much appreciated.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen.
Right. Right.
So
I do also want to mention too, because you guys did the 50 race this morning.
How was the route?
The route was.
Oh, what? More of these?
I've done a lot of since my retirement. I've done a lot of, not a lot, but I've done some pretty cool mountain bike stuff. And today's route was right up there with some of the best I've done in the last 5 years. Just incredible. We had really smooth, bermed out stuff, rocky stuff, technical stuff. Just the whole route was the scenery. I couldn't speak any more about how good this event was.
And we had a good day.
The route
Beautiful
is
weather.
Yeah.
And you can ride that route yourself.
September 15th. Come join us in Aspen.
I hope to be back for that.
Now, no one knows the results except for our immediate crew who witnessed it. In the member portal right now at wedo.team, there are clips from a majority of what happened today, but not the very end.
We have some images.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
We have some queued up.
You ought to see some of this. It was just epic.
Oh, here's entering the ring. Who will win? Okay. Starting.
You guys look so happy at the start.
Well, exactly. Didn't look quite that happy at the end. A little tired. Okay. LA in front. Oh, LA behind. LA's behind and behind. All right. And there's the whole crew. There's the film crew, the Inkwell crew, JB. Even got Liz Kreutz in there. Hello. Mike Closure, Mike Shea. We talked about them the other day. Our babysitter.
They guided
our
us. Our
babysitter right under the flag, Tiffany Cook, in the colorful shirt.
Our babysitter.
Yeah. Keeping us in line.
But no, I think it's if you want to see this complete, like I was loading the footage today. I was mind blown at the images and the video footage. They're cranking away on it to get it done so we can see it midweek. Mm-hmm. If you remember, what's important about that is if you want to buy a membership now, you can do it, and it's going to roll all the way through next year's tour, which is starting earlier. Yep. So it'll get you through seeing this and all of next year.
Yep. Plus the free members tee and the cinch sack and the ballpoint pen, and I mean there's a bunch of discounts in the store. So we're just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that's on the horizon, we'll be covering the Vuelta.
La Vuelta España.
Johan and I will continue to do that show like we did with the Giro, and we're working diligently. Yep. Johan's taken the ball to run with it to do a show in all Spanish.
All Spanish.
Which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean George was telling. I mean, he says a lot of people when he's down there, people are like, can we get in some episodes of the Move in Spanish? And so, lo and behold, here we come. Yeah. I mean, it's not obviously Johan's Spanish, just so y'all know, is absolutely perfect. Man lives in Spain, and the co-host that we've sort of identified obviously speaks Spanish. So we're just trying to figure out the editing but it's cool to know we got a big audience down there.
And the co-host, we won't give it away now, praying it all works out logistically, is a familiar name.
Yeah.
And knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. And we're also working on the show for Finland. I've been taking, what's that course that teaches you to speak different languages? Rosetta Stone. I've been taking Finnish and Rosetta, since we're the number whatever show in Finland, that I think that would be only fitting.
Could be a while.
Could be a minute. Could be a minute before I learn some Finnish. But
But anyhow, that wraps it up.
Man.
Thanks.
And exciting. It's interesting. I mean, it was watching Christian. He said it was on NBC that it was the best tour he's ever seen. I don't agree with that. I mean, I think
it was pretty close.
I think the ending, the Alps, and of course the weather played a factor, but it didn't. If we'd have given me a Ventoux or an Alpe d'Huez or something there at the end, okay, but I don't know. I just missed some action.
It was on course to be the most exciting ever, and we just had the weather intervene on the last 2 days.
Yeah, that lady, she's undefeated.
Yeah,
it was good to see that. It was just so suspenseful the last couple of days. We didn't know what was going to happen, and like you said, the weather did affect some things, but I thought it was exciting, and I'm happy to see a Colombian on top.
I was going to say, you're just saying that because your guy won.
Yeah, exactly. Colombiano.
Who picked Bernal at the start of the tour?
I think
Johan.
Johan picked him, but then he dropped him, right?
He shifted when you guys shifted your opinions. I think after Fuglsang crashed day one, you kind of shifted because you needed one. He did shift to Geraint Thomas, and then
he shifted back.
But he picked the top two.
Well, no, I mean the guy is a savant when it comes to cycling. So, I mean, you're crazy to pick against him, but and it's cool that he's seen that he still pays attention. Like he's not guessing. Right?
No,
I got to be honest. Like a lot of times, I'm guessing.
Well, I saw one of his posts the other day where he had some notes written down on the profile.
Mm-hmm.
Found that quite interesting. He definitely puts a lot into it.
I know. The profile you get online and in the book, the Bible, isn't enough for him. He would draw his own.
Yeah.
Because I think he's writing down the times of riders going between certain gaps.
Wow.
Different stuff. Different next level stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's, okay. That's probably because he watches it like 4 in the afternoon. Like, it's just not fair that I have to get up at 7 and do
Well, it's good that we have both shows going on, too, because he always had a different he was in a different position when we were racing. And like I said, he's seen every scenario from the car, every scenario that went through our teams over 7 years being together. So I think it's great having him on board.
But as we wrap up, shout out to him on all of his hard work on that front.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
You guys and gals. It's been a fun 3 weeks. It's tough. It's funny. Like it's exhausting, but so I'm a little glad that I don't have anything to do tomorrow, but this has been a blast. And
you can help us pack.
Help you. Hang on. Shit, some stuff just popped up in my calendar. My assistant just filled a lot of stuff starting early. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, we appreciate it. Everybody, all of us over here at Team We Do and the Move. And we're not done for the year. This last thing I'll say, I know we keep rambling, but we're going to do the Women's Colorado Classic. Mm-hmm. We'll do the Ironman again like we've done the last couple of years. And then we'll just keep, the more content, obviously Johan, if we pull it together, the Vuelta show, your show, but the Move keeps moving on. So you don't have to wait 49 weeks to see these good-looking mugs. It's the good news, especially this man.
Yeah.
It looks like he lost. He looks like he lost today.
We'll see. We'll see what happened on Tuesday, right?
Tuesday or Wednesday. All right. See y'all later.
Thanks, guys.